Okay, so what I'm learning is that this new laptop I have has a problem with live streams. So I'm going to try again to finish what we were talking about, and I'm going to hope that everybody comes back over here. Um, and I will let AJ know so that can help us out too. There we go. Apologies for that. Hi. Yeah, it works again. I'm not sure why my computer decided to encounter a problem and need to restart entirely. I don't appreciate it. If it happens again, I apologize. I'm going to Google why it would have done that and fix it before next week. Um, yeah, my internet's been pretty spotty here. I'm getting a whole new router today. So that should be fixed by our Wednesday night streaming live stream for our cozy gaming. However, I was in the middle of a sentence and we were talking about the eclipse astrology. So let's get back into that. I will show the screen again when this decides to let me. There we go. I'm very like on edge now about if this is going to do what I need it to do because it's okay. So what I was talking about over here is that Venus seems to take rulership of this. Venus, of course, rules, like I said, women and non-conforming genders and sexualities, as far as we know in modern, interpretations of ancient astrology. So this actually, with Venus being the victor, actually shows that the eclipse could bring about changes, but things that are ultimately pretty beneficial because she is one of the benefics. So we really like that. And the reason we really like that is at the same time, this on the 4th, actually, so give or take a day, this day aligns with 2025 Aries ingress primary direction timing. Now, that's circumambulations and distributions if you're following up on what these timing techniques are. So, with Mercury stationing retrograde today and causing a lot of problems, stationing at this time will officially go retrograde on the 25th, but Mercury stands still for a couple days before and after its retrogrades. So we are in that time now, which lets me know I have things I need to work out technologically. Yay. So we see that Venus could actually say, okay, good stuff ultimately comes with this eclipse. What we had learned previously about the timing of it is since it's about 3 hours long, that's 3 months of stuff that is coming from this eclipse. It's happening during your Mercury retrograde by transit, but that does not factor into what this eclipse is an omen of. It does factor into what is happening at the time, which will contribute to the tone of everything else that is happening, right? So if you've got drunken Mercury at the party who's being loud, yes, whatever Venus is talking about over here at the time is going to be affected by that. She's going to have to talk louder. She's going to have to tell them to be quiet. She's going to have to work around them being sloppy, whatever. So we do have the Mars set. So if you take this chart and you like just move it forward and attribute 1 degree to, I think, 4 minutes of astrology, you will be able to move this around and say, oh, if I approximate that and shove it into a year's worth of time, I can find when Mars will culminate and when Mars will set. And if Mars is important in the Aries ingress, which he is in the 25 Aries ingress, he actually is one of the co-rulers of the ruler of the nation, and is not doing great in that chart and is setting at this time. So whatever Mars rules is setting. Now, if you know a lot about, or even some about astrology, the setting point is when the sun does a certain thing in the story of the day that it completes its journey, right? And so one of the things is it's just not the strongest point for a planet to reach, right? It's a crucial point. It's a notable point, but it's not their culmination when they're at their highest. It's not their rising when they're gaining energy. It's the completion of something. So that is happening right around the transit of this eclipse. And the eclipse is still a full moon conjunct the nodes, right? So transiting still has some kind of oomph and energy to it. But ultimately, this eclipse is an omen of things to come as well. And in order to find out when those things are coming, we would then look at the eclipse, find out where the moon is in the upper half of the chart, and say if it is in the first quadrant or the first third over here, it's going to happen within 1 to 4 months. If it's in the middle up here, it's going to happen within 4 to 8 months. And if it's in this last section over here, it's going to happen 8 to 12 months after the day of the eclipse. So we are looking at somewhere between March 3rd, 2026 and March 3rd, 2027. Now, what we can easily say here is that is in the very far end. So we're looking at this maybe starting next March. Um, so that's 3 months of time that could potentially start anywhere between December and March next year, or after this year. So December 2026 and March 2027. But with how close it is to the descendant, you would say, oh, that's probably going to start in March. And that's 3 months of stuff that starts in March. So March to April to May to June, that period of time that would be when this eclipse stuff would really come to its fulfillment for what it is promising in this chart. So we can also say that for where the moon is in the sky, again, you can factor that into zoning in again, another layer, and say within that 3 months, when is the stuff going to be the most intense? Well, probably that last month, because the moon is at the end of the chart. So somewhere in that last bit of that period of time will be the intensification, as Ptolemy puts it, of the eclipse. So that would put us probably somewhere March, April, May, June, somewhere in the May, June period of time next year would be the intensification of whatever this eclipse is bringing about. And that's how you do that. So, and again, that's a little bit simplified. I did a little bit more detailed math on it, but it works. It's going to be, it's really close. It's literally 2 hours and 55 minutes. So that's pretty much 3 hours when you're breaking it into time like that. So that's what we're looking at. Now, if we look at the quality of this moon, we've got the sun opposite, we've got Mercury opposite. Also present, though, are Venus, and Mars has just come into Pisces. Venus the next day will move into Aries into her detriment. Fortunately, not that day. So we don't have a detriment Venus contributing to this. We have detriment and fall Mercury having a rough time. Saturn is already separated by like a whole almost degree from Neptune, huzzah. And Jupiter is preparing to station direct. That'll happen later in the month, but he's getting there. He's almost there. He's almost done with his retrograde. So that's really nice too. Mercury is about halfway through their retrograde. So it's just stuff that will add context to this day in particular, not necessarily to the eclipse when it comes about. Those will be like background themes potentially. But so we're looking at things that are of a Virgoan nature happening, and probably some Piscean stuff too, because almost all the planets are hanging out in Pisces. So Virgo is, believe it or not, a winged. Virgo can be represented by like a winged woman a lot of the time. So we know Virgo pretty well, but we think about Virgo as a winged creature as well. So winged animals, particularly the ones used for food, because it is Virgo and harvest is a big deal. So think chickens and things are going to be the one of the primary topics. We may not hear about it because we don't hear about that stuff as much, but keeping that in mind. Also with Pisces, believe it or not ocean stuff, but river stuff is implied according to Ptolemy. So we look at river fish and that kind of stuff. Ptolemy was very much concerned with the quality of things that contribute to man's survival that would be affected by this. So it's not necessarily like, oh, Virgo managers and you know, the more psychological astrology that we apply today, they were more concerned about like, are we going to have an illness amongst our livestock? And is the crop going to be a good one this year? Those kinds of things. Venus being in charge shows potentially, yes, good things. And those good things will potentially be around those kind of fish and birds. So that's how Ptolemy would kind of look at this. I think also it's one of the few signs I think that doesn't relate to kings, which is interesting because it's not on one of the angles, the cardinal angles. It's a mutable sign. So there's a lot of changeability that would go along with that. Hi, Kay. Good to see you. Thanks for joining the live after we got a little bit disrupted by technology, as we will. So that's some stuff to look at with this eclipse. Any questions on that? I know we were broken up a little bit. Yeah, I automatically assume oceans too. I have to consciously correct myself because Pisces to me is very oceanic. It's ruled by Jupiter. So you would think big bodies of water, but it was considered rivers. And I wonder maybe if that's because rivers were more abundant for them at the time. rivers had more, fresh water that could create or sustain life. And so freshwater places would be considered a little bit more Jupiterian in their minds. And that is where the fish that they would have been able to harvest or catch would have been, because they had more access to rivers as compared to oceans, which were a little bit more, what's the word? Intimidating. It's not the perfect word, but oceans were like, you're going on a journey and you don't know if you're going to survive kind of stuff to them. So it was a different context at the time. Yeah. Yeah. So that's that. Yeah. Do I need to explain anything a little bit better? How do we feel about that? Now, remember, I'm looking at this and thinking in the context of a strong Venus eclipse happening the day before the primary direction timing of Mars setting, which we mentioned in the previous live. Mars in the Aries ingress. I can show you the Aries ingress of last year, actually, and I can give you some context here. Let's go back to cycles. And we will go to 2025 because we are still in the 2025 Aries ingress of this time. So we see the sun. I'm going to move us over to Washington, D.C. just to be super duper accurate here as much as we can with Luna. Yeah. So what we have in the Aries ingress for last year is, of course, it's the chart for when the sun hit 00 Aries. That is your Aries ingress. It was March 20th last year. I was in Egypt or close to Egypt, or having just got home from Egypt, whatever. There was a lot of Egypt happening last year. We were there for the eclipses last year for sure. And so we find it's an Aquarius chart, which would put Saturn as a potential ruler, but boy, Saturn was why I said last year, like, I had concerns about the markets and affordability this year, mostly because, and now I can say this because we're at the end of the year and we've seen a lot of the headlines. So I'm not fear mongering. I am doing data analysis. So we see that Saturn is right with that South Node. That's how far the South Node has come in the last year. And in the second house in your natal chart is your finances, but in a mundane chart, in a world chart, that is the finances of the nation. And so that is what we are able to take in. And that has a lot of, Saturn in Pisces conjunct the South Node. This is actually given, according to Masha'Allah and Abu Mashar, a similar energy as an eclipse itself. So very fracturing, very distorting. Think about when you see heat waves and it just warps reality. That's kind of where it was at. And Saturn, of course, is a difficult planet. So I was expecting that we were going to have to be frugal this year. And we did. I hope you guys have been able to handle that really well and gracefully as well. This coming year shows a little bit more improvement for the general economy, at least for, I do think it shows, my mentor and I have had discussions about this, and I'm a little bit more optimistic than she tends to be. And so we do see something that I'll be getting into over the next couple of weeks as we approach our next Aries ingress that does show an improvement, at least in this case. I do think of affordability because the Jupiter will be in the second house and it will be connected to Mercury, which is the ruler of the Aries ingress chart. And so I do think that we see some money coming back to people next year, which will be really great. You all deserve that. And I'm excited to see that hopefully that comes to pass. But we're talking about Mars. So Mars in this chart, you can see, is in the sixth house in Cancer. Mars is in falling Cancer, does not like being there. But why then is Mars the co-ruler of the ruler of the nation? The sun is always one of the rulers of the nation. The moon is always one of the rulers of the people. Solar eclipses, lunar eclipses, you may have heard me make those definitions of lunar eclipses have been important to people. And solar eclipses have been important to kings or leadership. And so the other way we can look and see what more context we can find about the king would be the 10th house, the culminating point, right? Where the midheaven is. In this chart, it is Scorpio, which is ruled by Mars. So that is our co-significator of the king. The sun is always going to be exalted in the Aries ingress chart. So we do want more context of, like, yes, this person is exalted. Tell me, something I don't know. But how are they doing? Mars is in the sixth house, which is Mars's joy. Mars loves to be in the sixth house of bad health. But bad fortune is the traditional indicator there. Health and illnesses and service fall there. But Mars is in fall. So Mars is not very well liked in this case. And is, having some adversarial situations there. Now, when Mars, which had to go all the way up and around over the course of the year, sets, that's going to be a crucial moment for whoever Mars is representing. Again, rulership of the nation whose capital is Washington, D.C. And so we see that this should be a pretty interesting plot point in the story of the year for that person in particular. There's a lot of things right now that could easily factor into that if you've been paying attention to the news. So, hi, Misty. So that's that one as well. Then again, that's Mars will set by timing in the calculations that I've done, which is the Ptolemy key again, on the 3rd of March. So that's on the 4th of March, which is the day after this eclipse. That has Venus as its victor. So factoring in that the eclipse is amplifying energy, perhaps by transit that day, and that women perhaps have, especially because Venus is at her exaltation degree, that women have more exaltation, more esteem, more attention, more support, and that Mars is setting the very next day. I have hopes. Just going to put it that way. I have hopes for what will come about next week around that time. So that is a general overview of this eclipse. Questions, comments, things that stick out to you, anything I can explain better, let me know. I'm here. Yeah. So this is one I've been sitting on for a while because it's very interesting to me. Yes. I guess I should move us back over to the eclipse chart so we're not looking at a whole year ago. But yeah, or we can move on and do a very light look at 2026's, not lunation cycles, back 2026's Aries ingresses. Solar ingresses, you want the Aries ingress for, once again, Washington. I don't know why it resets every time, but here we go. And so we'll bump this over by a minute to make sure that the sun is where we want it to be. Booyah. And so here is the Aries ingress chart that gives us the promise for 2026, March to March. And as you can see, Jupiter is direct, huzzah. Mercury's having a time of it, but has support here. So this to me is like, do we get some sort of supportive break from something? Jupiter also can be one of the things that rules judges, can be one of the planets that rules the wealthy. And so, yes, the wealthy have a lot of resources this year. Again, tell me something I don't know. But that is where we're getting into here. Jupiter being connected by trine to Mercury, who is one of the co-rulers of the people. So perhaps there's a little bit to go around, which would be nice as well. If someone tried to energetically attach, would that end at the end of a retrograde? It depends on what energetic attach means. Are you talking about like an energy vampire? Do you want this person not in your life anymore? Because you can end it with boundaries just as much as you could end it with astrological timing. And I recommend it. I'm one of those people, like if someone tries to attach to me, I immediately become Teflon. So I'm not very for that. If someone sent bad energy your way, would that end by the full moon or end of the eclipse? I would just say end it yourself. You have more ability to do something about this. I would do more work after the eclipse if I had my opinion on it, because stuff can go wonky. It's like Neville Longbottom's wand during the eclipse itself. But if someone sent you bad stuff, either do a return to sender or say, I don't accept that. And then you're good. Just because fun story. In high school, actually in elementary school, kindergarten, I met someone who is now one of my best friends, like ride or die. I met them when they hit me in the head with a piece of coal and cracked my head open for no reason. And so I made it my mission for some reason, because that's the kid I was for the rest of my elementary school career, to try and build a bridge between me and this person. which of course led this person to have a crush on me in 5th grade, and I wasn't allowed to date yet, and I said so, and he said, "I hope you die," and then took that very personally and spent the next 5 years trying to kill me. Um, in ways that 5th graders through 8th graders would do, stabbing with pencils, trying to kick me down the stairs, such and such, right? And it was not fun, not gonna lie. Um, and then at one point in 8th grade, this person got into witchcraft, and I was still indoctrinated into a very thick Christian web at that time. And so I remember saying, and I think this still is effective, your stuff doesn't work on me because I don't believe in it. And so therefore, I'm protected from you. I know you've done it. I just think it's stupid and I'm not letting it into my space. And none of the stuff he did ever worked on me. Now, that being said, do I practice magic now? Heck yeah. Does it work a lot? Yeah. Have I used magic to create boundaries and encourage consequences? Yeah. Um, And I think that if you are aware that someone has done something and you say, "Hey, I don't think that that's going to affect me. Sorry, nice try, but try someone else." That's going to be just as magical as anything else. Now, if you wanted to do some magic, which I typically would, it helps reinforce your own beliefs in your protectedness. Return to sender is really easy. Freezer spells are really easy. Anything like that. Um, but mhm, yeah. And to finish the story, this friend, who is now a friend, um, I don't even know what shifted, but people started picking on him, and I took that personally. And so I stuck up for him, and we did college classes together while we were still in high school. And we would have sick debates. Like it would stop the entire class. We'd be arguing so much, but it was fun. And we both started getting really interested in debating each other. And then when it came time for him to apply to colleges, he was not gonna. And I told him that that would be stupid because he was too smart not to do that. Like, smart human being, one of the smartest people I've ever met, brilliant. And so I couldn't let him waste his life, even if I thought he was a moron. And so I challenged him to apply to a school, and he applied to the same school I did and got in. So by the time we got to our orientation day, we decided to call a truce. And then I became the first person he came out to. We're still best friends today. When we would play D&D together and the other people would try to treat me like a girl, he would knock them down a peg. So, I mean, moral of the story is your bully can become your bestest friend. So and it all goes back to the day he tried to kill me, which again, what else is new in my life, right? So it was just one of those times. So yeah, this person is truly like, I spent my spring break senior year going over to visit him because he got to do a study abroad in England, and he also really liked Doctor Who. So we went to go see a David Tennant show, and we did like a bunch of really cool stuff together, and it was fantastic. Um, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's not. And I again, I literally remember on picture day, I walked right up to him and was like, "What was that about?" And he was like, "I don't know." But then when he went through hard times, for some reason was still there. It was very easy to be. I'm very bad. I know I have a lot of Scorpio in me, but I'm very bad at holding a grudge. I will simply forget that I was supposed to do that. And that makes it really easy to treat people well. But it also, can have its downfalls. Fortunately, this person turned out to be a really good person in the end, and it worked out great in that case. So we still text daily. He beats my butt in New York Times games, and I still play because there's going to be that one day a month maybe that I win. So it's fine. Um, but yeah, so all that is to say, um, some of the and I am actually, to my Patreon book club people, you're going to be hearing a passage this Sunday from Marsilio Ficino that really emphasizes the importance, before you do any magic, focus on your mental health. And I obviously agree with that on my own, but finding that in these passages that are from the Renaissance and earlier, right? Just really goes to show that mental health is one of the foundations of excellent magic. So boundaries is one of the foundations of excellent mental health. And that is something I have to remember and re-educate myself on frequently. We've talked about that here multiple times. And I think right now, with the Saturn Neptune situation still in pretty intense place. I mean, even by Aries ingress, look at this. They're only 3 degrees ish away from each other. That's still in effect. Boundaries is really good, especially if someone's getting on your nerves. Saying no, or I don't care, or my favorite, just doing the blank face and being like, okay, is fantastic. um, I've appreciated this repeated message from you, MM. Yeah. You think you finally found a good therapist? Yay. I remember when I found my therapist. Boy, you come into a therapist, right? Being an astrologer and a psychic medium by trade, and you're just like, listen, there's a lot that if you don't already agree with, you're going to have to just work with me on because this isn't the part that you're going to fix. So let's go from here. But she actually, I met her because a client had been living in Virginia when I was about to move down to Virginia. And she was like, I tell my therapist about you guys all the time because she was in our writing program. And her therapist loved our approach because it's a mental health forward approach. And so I was like, cool. Who's your therapist if she likes me already? Because I'll go to her. And that's what I did actually. So that's how I found my therapist. I got very lucky. And I'm grateful to that client for sharing that information with me. Yeah. Yay. Yeah. Okay. You'll see it if you're in the book club. It'll be there. It's going to be the Making Magic newsletter this week. Um, yeah. Yep. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys. I'm going to catch up on some comments here. I don't think I missed anything. Oh, Shauna, salmon runs where you live. See, that's really cool. Yeah, I'm happy you're here too, Kay. Thank you. Awesome. Cool. Yeah. All right, cool. Looks like I'm caught up. Yeah. I'm a little bit scattered today, not only because of Mercury. I'm going to blame jet lag and getting in a little bit late yesterday for that as well. And then Zelda, who was like, I'm going to sleep in your room tonight, which is adorable. And I recommend it all the time. I love her. And then she decided, hey, 3 a.m., you need to come downstairs with me. And so I had to because I love her and I don't want her to suffer. But also, like, I needed sleep, man. I had a red eye from Hawaii. So, um, oh, yeah. Kay, if you gave a reading to someone and they sent bad energy your way, just cleanse yourself and work. I honestly grounding and cleansing and stuff after everything. Once I'm done with a consultation, and I have had to learn how to do this. Once I'm done with the consultation, that energy is gone. It's totally separated from me. And that is very important. You can even just like do this, slice off anything. But I also, it's daily, right? Just like your mental health, daily spiritual hygiene, which is another thing that Em and I talk about all the time. Yeah, people do that. Yeah. They don't even sometimes, Shauna, people don't consciously necessarily always do it. I'm going to stop share screen here. When it comes to psychic attack, it can happen just because someone is thinking and sort of throwing psychic darts with their thoughts. Road rage can turn into psychic attack. Jealousy can turn into psychic attack. If someone's ruminating too much on something you said, even though it's about how they feel about it, it can turn into psychic attack because they project on you. So you've got to really keep your mental health and your spiritual hygiene up. And of course, there are magic things that you can do too. Like I said, return to sender, freezer spell, wards, energy cleansings, all those things. Having this eclipse coming up, good time to do any of that because you're trying to purge some stuff. And that's the eclipses are very purgative things. So if you want to do like an intense purging of all unnecessary energy, because some energy we have is necessary. Like I remember when I was learning healing once, they said you don't want to get rid of all bacteria when you're sick because you use some of that bacteria. Some of that bacteria is good. You want to get rid of the unnecessary stuff when you're sick in that example. So don't get rid of everything. But focus on releasing what is ready to be released and what is no longer necessary, especially since this eclipse will be with the South Node. The North Node and the South Node in Vedic astrology, which developed in India more primarily, is associated with a dragon named Rahu Ketu. And the dragon's head is Rahu, and that's the north node. And Ketu is the south node, which is the tail. And so if you think about the north node, it eats, right? The dragon's head just eats a ton. That's got to go somewhere. And that is the south node, which purges. So those are some things you can think about. Great way to purge is like a sea salt bath if you want to. Especially, Venus is going to be the victor. So baths with oils and some luxurious things. If you want to have that bath with wine and whatever makes you feel good. I don't know. I don't drink alcohol and I don't do baths often. So, but that's definitely the image that comes to mind when I think about it. Yeah. Yeah. I hope that was helpful. Great question. I took a very long time answering it. I apologize for the length, but I hope it was helpful. Yeah. Fun stuff. Cool. What else does everybody want to talk about this week? We'll probably talk about the eclipse again next week as things get closer. But I wanted to give you an overview now too, just to help out. Yeah. Yeah. Dragons show up everywhere in ancient stuff, and I really do enjoy it. I think that I could probably pick up Jack Jack if I tried. So if you guys want to see a Jack Jack sighting, it may be brief, but I am willing to pick up the Jack Jack if you would like to see him. Yeah? Okay. Give me 1 minute as hi, you know what's coming. I'll be right back. Hey, Fuzzy, what you doing? Come here, good boy. Oh, big boy. Okay, here is Jack Jack. Here he is. Yeah, you want to sit upright? There you go. Here's a Jack Jack. He's being so precious. You good, bub? There you go. Whoop. There you go. He's so good. He's so soft. He's such a good boy. Yes, he's a big buddy. Aren't you, buddy? Yeah, look how pretty you are. You're so pretty. Yes, he is a good dog. He's a good hugger. If you ever hug a dog, the way that you picture Shadow hugging his kid in Homeward Bound, and you're just like, that feels like it must be a good hug. Jack is a good hugger too. Yeah. You're a good hugger. Yes, you are. Jack is only interested in when I get off of this call, because for him, it will be lunchtime. And so that's what he's there you go, bud. Most interested in. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate you. You're so good. Yeah. Yeah. Isn't he the best? I love him. Jack is, we had Zelda in for an appointment recently because she's got anxiety, real big anxiety. The dog is on Lexapro levels of anxiety. Oh, good stretch, pal. And so we were just making sure that we can accommodate her however much we can, lessen her anxiety if possible. And she was being examined, and we had to say, Zelda is so smart. She gamed their system for how to get treats within 2 minutes and started doing exactly what she needed to do to get them to throw more treats. And they were like, how's the other dog in the house? And we're like, oh, he has 1 brain cell, but it's an adorable one. He just really wants the world to be sunshine and rainbows, and he can't see past that. And we love that for him. So Dan called him the bless your heart dog. And he is, which is great. Zelda has enough brain cells for all of us. Her joints are doing okay. We think she just had some tendonitis, so that's good. It's not arthritis at this point, and we've got her on some good supplements. I will do anything for these dogs. Truly anything. All they have to do is look at me. It was so funny because Dan and we spent that whole nice week in Hawaii, totally relaxing, all the stuff, right? Every time we saw a dog or something that could even be related to a dog, it was just like, dang it, I miss the pups. Yeah, so they're good, and we've got them home now, and that's the best part. Yeah, as we should. They are good dogs. They are so great. And then this week we get to meet with a trainer who's going to help. Jack he does have an orange brain cell. Yeah. In corgi terms, he's considered sable, which is nice. I love my mic too. I'm glad you're hearing the Jack Jack noises. He's not silent, which is great. She's definitely not silent. The way she lets you know that she needs something is at 3 a.m. She runs into the middle of the house in the living room. So she'll come downstairs where it echoes the most and she will go, woo! It's so 3 a.m. I get woken up by woo, and I'm like, oh, she's got to go outside. But then every time you come home, you get a little whoo, or every time she has to go outside, she gets a whoo, or she'll stretch and she has to hoot. So it's just so good. It's so good. Do they pop into my? Oh, they always pop into my mind while I'm away. Yeah, yeah. Zelda is never out of my mind. I'm pretty sure that's just her doing her thing. But yeah. Uh, Yeah. Oh, AJ, thank you for the reminder. So I truly am getting a whole new wireless router today or tomorrow. And it will be set up for gaming level computers because Dan got one too. So now we both have our gaming PCs, which apparently is making our Wi-Fi struggle a bit. So we're getting better routers to support that. We have the good Wi-Fi. It's just the router's not letting it all through. So we'll get the good router too, and then we'll be able to do some good stuff on Wednesday. I'm also itching a little bit to change games. So if you have ideas for a different game, or if you're ready to go back to Zelda for another part of the storyline there, let me know, because I'm feeling that myself as we're like getting into the seasons, getting ready to change and such. I'm like ready to get back into something exciting. So it's like the cat's waking you up for food. I'm sure it is. Yeah. Yeah. And then they think that they need the whole thing. And it's like, sir, no, you have a couple more hours yet before we actually start the day. You got to go back to bed. And then they do. And it's adorable. So, I mean, they're cute. What else am I going to do? Oh, Zelda's making noises now, too. She's probably feeling a little left out because she knows Jack's getting attention. But yeah. Yeah, the owl emoji. That's her. Yeah. It is, AJ. Yeah. And it was perfect for that. And there are other games we can have fun with, which sounds like a good time. Awesome. Well, great. Thank you guys so much for working with me as we had to jump around on some lives a little bit. Apologies for that. Hopefully, I'll get it sorted out by next week. Um, and remember, right, we're going to credit this to Mercury retrograde, but it's not that Mercury broke my stuff and it'll just magically resolve itself. Sometimes that happens, but it's letting me know that there's an error somewhere or an issue somewhere. And now I have the awareness to fix it. So often with our transits, you will have a transit that's like, hey, this bad thing is happening. This period of the bad thing happens between this date and this date. But that doesn't mean you just bypass it afterwards. This is your time to learn how to deal with it so that afterwards you then can move on and it doesn't come back. So that's one of the things I've learned from astrology very much. So thank you again, everybody. I appreciate you so much. We will have the ink spill on Friday. We will have our Wednesday live stream. And of course, throughout the week, I'm on social media. So Instagram stuff should be fixed because that disconnected while I was in Hawaii. And I was like, well, what am I supposed to do about that? But we're back. We're back. So have a great week. I hope that you guys just have no problems, or that if you do, you handle them and you don't let them rise up too much, which I know I do sometimes. So let's work on our mental health this week together as Mercury goes retrograde in Pisces. That should be fun. Yep, we're back to our regularly scheduled routines for a couple weeks here because I will be headed to Peru on the 18th of March, right in time for the Aries Ingress, which means in these couple weeks, I will be going in depth into the Aries Ingress. So stick around for that. Let me know if you have any questions, and I would be happy to go over them with you. It is my pleasure and my joy. I appreciate you all so, so much. Have a good day.